Imagine buying a house and deciding to create that beautiful open plan kitchen you've always wanted. The first thing standing in your way is a wall. So you call a contractor or you grab a sledgehammer and you start breaking it down. After all, it's just a wall, right? Well, not necessarily, because one of the biggest misconceptions that homeowners have is believing that all walls do the same thing. We see walls every day, so we assume that we understand them. Their job seems obvious. They are there to separate rooms. This wall separates the kitchen from the dining room. That wall separates the bathroom from the toilet. Simple. But some walls are doing a second job that's invisible from the room that you're standing in. A job that has nothing to do with privacy or dividing spaces. And here's the scary part. Two walls can look almost identical. They can be the same color, they can be the same thickness, and they can be made from the very same types of bricks. Yet, removing one might be perfectly safe, while removing the other could create a very expensive problem. So, before you start knocking down walls, you first need to understand what that hidden job actually is. Let's say you decide to remove a wall from your house. The moment that wall comes down, something very important happens, and it's not immediately obvious. The roof is still the same weight. The ceiling is still the same weight. If there's a floor above, that floor is still the same weight. Everything that was there before is still there. The only thing that's changed is that you've removed one of the things helping to support it. Imagine four friends carrying a heavy table. If one of those four friends suddenly lets go, the table doesn't magically become lighter. The same weight now has to be carried by the remaining three people. Buildings work in the exact same way. The weight of a structure is always trying to find its way into the ground, and sometimes part of that journey passes through that wall. That's why engineers don't look at a wall and ask, can this wall be removed? Instead, they ask, if I remove this wall, where does the weight go now? Because the wall might not just be separating rooms, it might be helping to carry a part of your house. At this point, most people start examining the wall. They look at its thickness, they knock on it, they tap it, they even try to judge it by the sound it makes. But that's a bit like trying to figure out what someone does for a living by looking at their shoes. You might get lucky, but you're looking in the wrong place. Because the most important question isn't what does this wall look like? The most important question is what would happen if it disappeared? That's why engineers often spend more time looking into the roof than looking at the wall itself. They're trying to understand whether anything above is relying on that wall, because two walls can have the same thickness. They can have the same bricks, they can have the same plaster, the same paint, yet removing one might be perfectly fine, while removing the other could create a very expensive problem. The wall is only a part of the story. The roof is usually where the rest of the story is hiding. So what happens if someone removes the wrong wall? Most people imagine the roof immediately collapsing or falling, but that's usually not how it happens. Instead, the house starts talking to you, not with words, but with clues. A crack appears above a doorway that wasn't there before. A door suddenly becomes difficult to close. A window starts sticking. A ceiling develops a dip where it used to be perfectly straight. At first, these things seem unrelated. You blame the weather. You blame the contractor or the builder. You blame the house being old. But what you're often seeing is the structure trying to tell you that something has changed. Remember, removing a wall doesn't remove the weight. The weight is still there. It still needs support. And if the structure can no longer use the root it was relying on before, it starts redistributing that weight elsewhere. That's when the cracks begin to appear. That's when things start moving. And that's when a cheap renovation can become a very expensive repair. Because by the time the house starts talking to you, the mistake has already been made. Now, here's the interesting part. Just because a wall is helping support part of the house doesn't mean that that wall can never be removed. In fact, engineers remove walls all the time. The difference is that they don't simply take the support away, they replace it. Imagine a relay race. One runner doesn't just stop running and drop the baton. They first hand it over to someone else. Engineers do something very similar. Before a wall is removed, They first make sure that there's another way for the weight above to be supported. Often, this is done by installing a beam across the opening. The beam catches the weight that the wall was carrying and then it transfers it safely to the sides. The wall disappears, but the support remains. To the homeowner, it looks like magic. One day there's a wall, the next day there's a beautiful open plan space. But behind the scenes, the weight still has a route into the ground. It has simply been redirected, and that's the key difference between engineering and guessing. Engineering isn't about removing things. It's about understanding what a structure needs before you take anything away. The most dangerous part about removing the wrong wall is that people often get away with it, at least at first. The roof doesn't immediately collapse. The ceiling doesn't immediately fall down. The house stays standing, and that's exactly what gives people confidence. They tell their friends, "I removed a wall and nothing happened." But structures don't care about confidence. They care about physics. The fact that a problem hasn't appeared yet doesn't mean that a problem isn't slowly developing, which is why engineers don't judge a decision by what happened immediately afterwards. They judge it by what happens over the years that follow, over time, long after the wall has been removed. So, if you're planning a renovation and there's a wall you'd love to remove, here's the problem. The wall doesn't know that it's renovation day. The roof doesn't know that it's renovation day, and gravity definitely doesn't know that it's renovation day. The forces acting on your house tomorrow will be exactly the same forces that were acting on your house yesterday. The only difference is that you may have removed something that was helping to deal with those forces. That's why engineers get a little bit nervous when someone says, "It's just a wall," because sometimes it is just a wall and sometimes it isn't. And from inside the room, those two walls can look exactly the same. Removing a wall is easy. Anybody can do that. The difficult part is understanding what the wall was doing before it disappeared. Hi everyone, the South African engineer here. If this explanation was useful, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Every subscription is a brick used to build the Engineering Explained house. Let's build this house together. Thank you for watching.